What is the saddest thing you've ever seen? First dog, I had known him my entire life. I was 7 or 8 at the time. As he followed the vet to be put down, he turned to look at me. He wagged his tail, turned back, and kept walking. My father's body. He committed suicide and I found him. It was the most hollow feeling of empty that stays with me to this day. My first deployment to Iraq. We had open hooches by ATT that could hold like 12 phones people could call home with. I can't count how many times men would be breaking down and crying or screaming into the phone BC their wife was screwing around on them and taking all their money and there was literally nothing that they could do about it. Waking up, hearing and finding my father in VFib convulsing on the couch at 4 a.m. Failed to save him with CPR. Heard his last gasps of breath as soon as the paramedics arrived and walked in the living room. I was 9 and there was a party at my grandmother's. The music was loud and everyone was drunk. The whole family was there having a great time. I went upstairs because the downstairs bathroom was occupied. I heard a sound coming from my aunt's room, like a whine. I opened the door and I saw a woman. I immediately recognized her from the pictures in the living room. She was waving her hands and shaking her head back and forth. I remember seeing her try to lift her body and straining against the chest strap that kept her from falling off the bed. I didn't even know she had left Puerto Rico. She was blind and deaf at the time and in the late stages of dementia. They left her there for hours in the dark. This was my first time meeting my great-grandmother. A young seagull attempting to eat a starfish. The starfish had 3 arms wrapped around the gull's head, and 2 days later they were both dead on the dock. My grandmother crying after my father passed away. I've seen a lot of sad things, but the most recent was a little boy of 13, Reese Williams, who has a very rare skin condition which is so painful his fingers have fused together and his legs cannot straighten anymore. It's his 14th birthday coming up and he told his mother he has given up on life. She asked for help from the community to send him birthday cards to lift his spirits. If you Google his name, Reese Williams Bolton, you should be able to see the address if you want to send a card to him. Really hurts me inside that this little boy has fought hard and been so strong but is losing hope. My friend breaking out in tears and pouring out her whole heart after we realized that our dog has just breathed out for the very last time. He was driven over by a motorcycle as we were walking down the street. We both saw it happen with our own eyes. But it has been the moment when his body started to get cold that we realized that this was it. I couldn't let go of the experience until I wrote everything down in every detail that was still bothering me. The text is awful. Those are one of the most horrible memories that I have saved externally. Having to put my best kitty down after 17.5 years. Hardest decision of my life. And now I'm crying again, disappointed face. My mum cry. Even after many times it still makes me the saddest. When my youngest son was 3 weeks old, he became super lethargic. I took him to the hospital while my wife stayed home with our other 2 kids, and when I got to the hospital, he gurgled and stopped breathing. He was coded and revived but was going to have to be life flighted. When my wife arrived, her breakdown and sobbing will stay with me forever. The wail of a mother who doesn't know if their kid is going to live is hell. He made it and is almost 8 months old now. He's had to be hospitalized since, but he's a healthy and happy little guy. I worked in long-term care, nursing home, for several years as both a CNA and an LPN. Watching people die all alone was so damn sad. One of the worst I remember was a woman I had who was dying of MS. She had lost her gag reflex and wasn't allowed to having anything by mouth except for liquid morphine. She would beg me for water, and the last time I gave her the morphine she looked at me with accusing eyes and grated out that wasn't very much water. She died in the next hour, alone. That one haunted me for a while. I work in a restaurant in an old, weirdly built building. There's lots of different ways mice are able to find their way in. We've done our best to find and cover holes. We keep the restaurant clean, but they still occasionally find their way in, so we keep sticky traps around. It breaks my heart seeing these mice on these things. They squirm and freak out when they see me. I can tell they're terrified. I'm not allowed to just let them go. We have to kill them. I put them in a trash bag, then stomp it really hard to try and make it quick. I don't know what else I can do. I fucking hate doing it. It makes me nauseous, but I don't want to make anyone else do it either. The owner doesn't care, just wants to keep using sticky traps. These little guys are just trying to find food. I feel awful thinking about it. My daughter cradling her hamster after it died. It broke my heart seeing her so heartbroken over it. I still get teary thinking about it. I live about 60 minutes north of the biggest town in my state. I was driving down there for a weekend worth of work on the interstate. Right on the outskirts of town were two big dogs kind of hanging out on the side of the 75 miles per hour highway. One big red one and one big shaggy black one. I think, oh damn, they're going to get killed and call animal control. On the way back home that afternoon, the big red dog was pacing around the run-over body of the shaggy black one that had been hit and killed. I called animal control again. On the way back to work the next morning, they were both laying next to each other, hit and killed. Jesus, my little sister overdosed and her eyes were black and open as the ventilator was pushing air into her. She didn't make it at 29 years young. My mother gasping for every breath. She was supposed to turn 70 in 4 days and she was proud of that. I couldn't see my mom suffering that bad, it was horrific. I let her go with morphine. Saddest thing ever, my mom lost her youngest to opioids. Here I am giving my mom opioids so she can be at peace. How fucked up is that? I hate myself every day to make both decisions. There's this goddamn picture on the goddamn internet of a dad staring at the severed feet and hands of his 5-year-old daughter that were cut off and mailed to him. I can't even remember the why behind it. I think there was a war or some shit, but honestly there can be no reasonable why for why some dad is staring at the severed limbs of his kid posted to taunt him. Like fuck, not much I see online gets to me these days, but that one fucked me up. My dad is a tough MF, doesn't show any emotion, but when he saw cousins at the funeral that he hasn't seen in a while after his dad passed away, he broke down. I think watching my cat be put down. I always loved my cat, but I was never the type of person to go nuts over her like many people do over their pets, and I genuinely didn't think I would get so upset. But I got her as a surprise on my 10th birthday, and she was the first and only pet I've ever had, and had to put her down after 16 years. I was literally beside myself, just knowing that she didn't know what was happening, and feeling like I had failed her and was betraying her even though I knew it was for the best. I don't really think about her much anymore, but I started crying again just writing this. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more.